Hey y'all, howdy, welcome to One for the Books. I'm Sandra Broadwell, and today we're going to talk about my reading, writing, and channel goals for 2024. I am so excited for the new year. I get so excited about goal setting, and I have 5 goals to share with you all today. They're very different from my goals for last year. In 2023, I attempted to read 100 books, which I had never read, I don't think, that many books in a year before. Maybe I did when I was like in middle school or high school when I wasn't tracking, because I was a very avid reader at that time. But since I've become an adult, I have not done so. And so that felt really amazing. However, a lot of the books that I want to read in the upcoming year are chunky, big, long books. And I know if I attempt to read 100 books again, I will be reading books that are not as big of a priority for me as some of the bigger ones that I want to tackle. So my Goodreads reading goal for the year is going to be significantly lower. I might only set it at like 50 or 60, even though I hope to read the same number of pages as I did in 2023. The number of overall books will be significantly less if I read the books that I am anticipating reading in 2024. So even though I will set a Goodreads goal, my Goodreads number of books to read is not one of my goals for the year. And in addition to that, I'm also going to be talking about my priority fantasy and sci-fi series for 2024. Let's get rolling. My first goal is to read at least 10 new releases in 2024. I have traditionally not really kept up with new releases very well. I went a very long period in my life without being an avid reader, only reading maybe 3 or 4 books a year. And so my backlist is so huge to just try and catch up on all the things that I feel like are necessary for being well read within my favorite genres. And so it's really hard for me to pull away from that and read the cool new things that are out when I have so many things I already want to get to. But because I'm not reading new releases as they come out and I'm excited about them, my backlist just continues to get bigger. And I would like to be able to have something to vote for in the Goodreads Choice Awards at the end of the year and things like that. So I did a video recently of my 12 most anticipated fantasy and sci-fi releases in 2024, which I will link down below. I might or might not read all of those, but I do want to read at least 10, regardless if they're the ones on that list or not. And I'm super excited to support authors as they need it when their new books are coming out. So we'll see how that goes. Goal number 2 is I want to start 10 of my priority series this year. Hopefully I can also finish them. I am a completionist. If I start something, I usually like to follow up pretty rapidly with the rest of the books in that series, and I definitely don't like to just leave series hanging. However, if I start a series and don't like it, I'm definitely not going to hold myself to, I have to finish this because it was one of my goals or priorities for the year. I'm not going to force myself to read books that I'm not enjoying, but I have a good feeling about all these series and super excited to dive into them. But I'll save that for the end of the video in case you don't necessarily care about what the series are. So we'll just continue on with the other 3 goals before we get into that. So those are the only 2 reading goals that I've set for myself this year. I have 2 goals related to writing and 1 goal related to the channel overall. My third goal is to have a finished first draft of my novel. Do you hear her? My cat is screaming. If you all have been following me for any length of time, you know that I am working on my own fantasy novel. I am very excited about it, and one NaNoWriMo, I wrote like 60,000 words in November. I still feel a long way to go. I think in an earlier video I said I wanted to complete my first draft by the end of January, but December has not gone quite how I thought, and I want to give myself a little more leeway. That's a little more optimistic, but still really charging hard into it. And so my actual goal for 2024 is to have my completed first draft by the end of March. I will be super stoked if I get it done earlier than that, but I don't want to be crushed by not meeting a goal so early in the year. My book is going to be quite long. I just want to give myself a little more brain space in case I hit some more road bumps or in case we end up being a lot busier than I expect. But I think by the end of March is a very doable goal for a first draft. Goal number 4 is I would like to have a fully completed manuscript by the end of 2024. I expect that I will have to go through multiple drafts of my book. After I finish my first draft, which is quite messy, I know I'm going to have to come back and do a lot of revisions. Once I have a second or possibly third draft, depending on how things go, that I am happy with, I would like to send it to beta readers or alpha readers or however you consider that, and get feedback from people who are fans of fantasy novels, just on a big picture developmental level. So that will be potentially a 4th draft, and then more line editing type stuff will be a 5th draft. So there's lots and lots of things that go into having a pretty polished manuscript. And so I don't really know whether I want to attempt traditional publishing or if I will just go the self-publishing route. But either way, I would like to, at the end of 2024, going into 2025, I want to feel like I'm ready to start querying if I am going the traditional publishing route or if I'm not, to be ready to start doing all of the self-publishing things that go into that. So that's a big scary goal, I think, especially because I have no idea how long edits and revisions are going to take, since I've never done something like this before. But I think it's a reasonable goal. We'll see. I will update you guys throughout the year, I am sure. And then goal number 5 is my channel goal, and that is just to have one YouTube video every week of the year. That's what I did this past year. 2023 was my first full year on YouTube. I started my channel in May of 2022. And when I first started it, I was only doing a video every other week. And this year I stuck to an every week schedule, and I really liked doing that and devoting the time to it. And it seems like a really reasonable pace to avoid burnout. I know a lot of YouTubers do 2 or 3 videos a week, and things could change and maybe I'll really want to do that. But at this point, I think a video a week is really a sustainable level for me, and I look forward to continuing to create content for you guys. I have so much fun with this as a hobby. So those are the 5 goals. 2024 is going to be an amazing year. If you don't know, my husband and I are full-time van lifers right now. You can't tell because I'm at a friend's house for the holidays at the moment, but we started full-time van lifing on August 1st, 2023, and our original plan was to be in our van full-time for a year. So I will be continuing van life in 2024, and I'm very excited for all the travels and all the places that we're going to get to see and friends that we're going to visit and all the good stuff. So I generally keep you guys a little updated on what we're up to travel-wise on the channel. So be sure to follow along for some van life content if that interests you as well. Okay, so 10 priority series for 2024. I'm so excited. Let's get into that part. These are in no particular order. These are just the ones that I'm hoping to get to this year, and I probably won't be reading them in the order that I say them. The first one is The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. This is his, I think, most popular series. I know Mistborn, maybe it's a toss-up between Mistborn and The Stormlight Archive, but the people I know that are huge Sanderson fans, it seems like The Stormlight Archive is everyone's favorite series. And the 5th and final book of Stormlight Archive Era 1 is supposedly coming out in December of 2024. So I really want to get to all of these books and be a part of the buzz and the hype around the 5th and final book of the Stormlight Archive when that comes out in December this year, 2024. I have read Mistborn Era 1 and Mistborn Era 2, but those are the only 7 books that I've read by Brandon Sanderson so far, and I'm super excited to start a new series by him next year. Number 2 is The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. I don't know a ton about what the Dandelion Dynasty is even about. I know that the magic system is maybe based around like engineering in some way, and I've heard that the first book is almost like a series of interrelated short stories that's like a big long prologue basically for the next 3 books in the trilogy, and basically just like a big setup. So I haven't read anything by Qian Liu before. I have read the Three Body Problem series, which is called the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, which was written by Cixin Liu but translated by Qian Liu. So that's my only experience with him as a writer so far, and it was just his translation. I've heard really, really great things about his writing and how epic it is in scale, and also just like his unique take on fantasy is very different from other writers. So I'm stoked to find out what all the buzz is about with the Dandelion Dynasty. Number 3 is the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio. This starts with the Empire of Silence. I believe there are going to be 7 books in this series. I think book 6 is supposed to come out in 2024. I've heard really great things about this series. It is about a morally gray or perhaps unlikable main character who destroyed an entire planet or a sun, basically killed a whole bunch of people, and it's told in the kind of narrative style of him explaining how he got to that point of his life, I guess, is basically what I know about it. So it sounds super cool. It has raving fans, and I hope to be one of them in 2024. Number 4 is the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. I've heard great things about the Murderbot Diaries. Most of the stories are pretty short. I think they're like novella length, and then there's a couple full-length novels thrown in there. I think there's 10 books in this series, maybe not quite 10. I'm not even sure if it's finished or if it's still ongoing. But what I do know is that the main character is a robot that calls itself Murderbot. Its job is to kill people, and it really just wants to live a cozy, happy life, like watching its reality TV shows and not murdering people. That's really all I know, but people really love this series, and it just sounds super funny and cute, and I'm excited to give it a shot. Number 5 is the Children of Time series by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I believe the first book in this series is about humans showing up to a planet that they have terraformed years and years ago in order to have a new home for humanity once they leave Earth. And when they arrive, it took them so long to get there that another sentient species has already evolved on the planet, and they think of it as their home planet, and kind of all the things that brings up, as you can imagine. I don't really know if the second 2 books are still about that conflict or about other things in the universe, but it's one of Adrian Tchaikovsky's most popular series, and I've never read anything by him before, so I'm excited to give this author a shot. Number 6 is Red Rising Era 2, or the continuation of the Red Rising saga. I started the Red Rising series just this month in December 2023. I had never read it before, and at the time that I'm filming this, I have read the first book, and I am like 90% of the way through the second book, Golden Sun. I anticipate by the time this video comes up that I will have already finished book 3, but I'm filming this about halfway through the month so that I don't have to worry about filming and editing during Christmas family mayhem. So yeah, I thought book 1 of Red Rising was decent. I had a lot of problems with it, but I liked the story overall. The second book I'm really loving, and I've heard from most fans that the first book is the worst and they just get better and better and better. So very excited to hit up the last 4 books in the 7-book series in 2024. I believe the 7th and final book, which is called Red God, is supposed to come out in 2024. I think that's unconfirmed at this time, but if not, I'll just read the next 3 books and be anxiously anticipating the 7th book along with all the other fans. Number 7 is the Winter Night trilogy, which starts with The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I've heard this is like the perfect wintertime read. It's based around Russian folklore, and that's all I really know about it. But I know it comes up on so many people's like best fantasy reads for the wintertime every year, and I love fairy tale folklore and mythology type stories, so I'm excited to give that one a shot, maybe at the end of next year. Number 8 is the Book of Ice by Mark Lawrence, and this is a continuation or another trilogy set in the same world as the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, which started with Red Sister. I read the Book of the Ancestor in 2022, and I absolutely loved it, and somehow had no idea that there was another trilogy in this world. I actually found out about it because I was looking at Mark Lawrence on Goodreads to find out when his second book in the library trilogy was coming out, because that's supposed to be his new release in 2024. And when I was on there, I saw the 3 books from the Book of Ice, and I was like, huh. And I clicked on it because if you've read the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, their world is like a pretty iced over world. Like that's a whole thing. And so I was like, that sounds like that would be in the same world, or like the same continuation, the same series potentially. And yeah, I clicked on it and it is in the same world as Book of the Ancestor. And I was like, how did I not know about this? How did I read this whole series and not know there was more to it? So very excited. I absolutely loved the Book of the Ancestor, and I'm excited to see more in this world from a different character's perspective. Number 9 is The First Law World by Joe Abercrombie. I have read 4 books out of the 9, I think, that are in this series. So there is an original trilogy that's just called The First Law, and then there's 3 standalone novels, and then there is a second trilogy that like wraps up the whole world. I have read the first trilogy and the first standalone book, which was called Best Served Cold. And Best Served Cold I just read in 2023. It was my favorite of the 4 so far. I think it was a lot more plot forward. I am more of a plot driven reader, so that really, really worked for me. I loved kind of the revenge tale of it. I think the next one in chronological order for me is called The Heroes. And if I'm not mistaken, that whole book is about one battle, and it's just like different perspectives from different people in the battle across the field. So that just sounds really cool and like a great concept for a book. And I really love Joe Abercrombie's characterization. That's what he's known for. And his fight scenes are incredible. So that's gonna be hopefully a big win. But I don't want to just read the next book in the series. I want to finally finish The First Law World. So I have 5 books that I'll need to read in order to do that next year. And then finally, number 10 is The Singing Hills Cycle by Nhi Vo. This is a series of novellas that starts with the Empress of Salt and Fortune. I don't really know a lot about this series. I think all the books in it are around 100 pages, so it should be pretty easy. As far as I know, every book is very different, but I think they all follow one central character. That's about all I know, honestly. I just think the covers for this series are really cool and engaging, and I have heard really good things about it overall. Those are my 10 priority series for 2024, along with my 5 goals. Please let me know down in the comments below what your goals are, reading, writing, YouTube, whatever they may be, or if you have any priority series that you're excited to start in 2024, I'd love to hear about it.